Hi everyone, my name is Nick Greenfield and I'm a product manager on the Durable Task Scheduler for Azure Functions. And today I want to show you a demo that builds on top of an existing integration between the Azure AI Agent Service and Azure Functions. And I specifically want to show you how you can bring durable execution app patterns into this scenario. So if we look at my screen, this is how the integration works today. A client can send a prompt to an agent service, and this agent service has been instantiated with a tool, in this case an Azure function, that it can use to help it complete its task. So let's say the prompt comes in asking about the weather in a particular location. This agent knows that it has a function that can help answer that question by sending a request to an external weather API. And so the way that the agent is able to trigger this function is by putting a message on a queue, which will then trigger the function. So it reads the message off of that queue, and so it has the location information. It makes a request to that external weather API. When the response is returned, the function will then put a message back on the queue, which the agent then can retrieve and then return back to the client. So this is the integration that exists today, and you can actually try this out on your own by visiting our sample hosted here. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to extend this even further. And really, the question that I'm trying to answer or fulfill here is, what if this part of the application needed to be a little bit more complex than just a function making an external API call? What if it actually needed to chain a series of functions? And what if those chaining of functions needed to do a bunch of processing in parallel? And what if they were long running? Or what if they needed to be durable, meaning if something was to fail along the lines of the function chaining, it can resume from where it left off, just because it's not practical to start from the beginning. And so that's exactly what I've done is I've actually incorporated the durable app patterns into this scenario here. So this is what I've built. I've transferred this from a weather agent to an agent that can help answer uh, GitHub issue questions. So in this case, I can send a prompt to my agent, it's the similar process, asking about the issues that have been open over a certain time frame in a GitHub organization. And I'm asking the agent to also rank those issues by most critical to least, and to summarize and suggest fixes for those issues. And so the same thing happens. The agent knows that it has a function that it can invoke to help it complete its task. It puts a message on the queue, it triggers our function. So that's all the same. And now what happens from here is this function, instead of just making that external call to an API, it's actually scheduling an orchestration. So here, this is where an orchestration is scheduled to query GitHub for all the repos in that organization, and then it's going to fan out to get all of the new issues within that time frame across all of those repos. And then it's going to fan back in. Once it has all those issues, it's going to ask Azure OpenAI to summarize those issues, to rank them from most critical to least, and to suggest fixes. So this is all going to be powered in this yellow box by the new durable task scheduler. But the key thing here is that I happen to be showing the fan out, fan in pattern, but really any of those durable app patterns can suffice here. So whether that's monitoring, just regular function training, so on and so on. Cool. All right, so this is the scenario that I'm going to show. Let's take a look. Um, so on my screen here, we have a front end, just a React app. I just put this in here to make it a little bit easier. It's going to send a prompt to that agent, which is then going to trigger our function. All of this is running on my dev machine. So I have the prompt. Can you please list the new GitHub issues opened in the past 7 days for the Kata core organization? Kata is just an open source project. It's part of CNCF. There's no significant reason why I chose this org. It's just I know it has a limited amount of repos, so we're not, really hammering GitHub's APIs. And then I'm asking it to rank the issues from most critical to least critical and to provide suggestions for fixing each issue. So let's send that. And this takes a couple minutes because it's going through a bunch of different services. It's making a bunch of different calls to GitHub. So let's take a look at the code and see what's going on here. So here is where I instantiate my agent, where I create the agent and I create it with a tool. And this tool is that function for GitHub issues summaries. And so it knows that it can invoke this function, and it does so by putting a message on the queue. And so that's where we have our binding information here for that queue service. And so if we scroll down, we actually take a look at the function app itself. And so here it is, process queue message, where it has my queue decorator. And this is what I've added. So I've actually decorated this with a durable client as well. And so when it gets into this function app, it schedules a new orchestration called summarize GitHub issues. And if we scroll down and we look at the orchestration trigger, this is my actual orchestration where all my logic is. You can see that I do some things with the message payload params, and then I have my steps, or what we call activities. So I query the repos for that organization. I ask Azure OpenAI to do some time conversion for me. You know, GitHub APIs assume that the time frame is passed into its query as an ISO formatted time. But as you saw, I just asked it for the past 7 days, and that could be the past 10 minutes, that could be a week ago, that can come into a bunch of different formats. And so I'm using AI to help me format that time call. Then I fan out to get all the issues across all of the repos for that time frame. And once those have completed, I fan back in, and then I call the last activity, which is summarize the issues, and that's where it's going to summarize them, rank them, and suggest fixes for them. Cool, so that's the app. If we take a look at the results, here we are. So the agent had come back exactly answering the past 7 days. Here are all the issues. I don't see the ranking in this response. That could just be a one-off from. Oh, it looks like actually it's implicit here. So it ranked from most critical to least. So it actually ranked them from what it thinks I should be looking at first to ones that are not as critical or as urgent. And so, as I mentioned, this orchestration that happened behind the scenes here was powered with the Durable Task Scheduler. And so, if we take a look at the Azure portal, I have my Durable Task Scheduler here. And within that, I get this dashboard out of the box. And so, here is my dashboard for my Task Hub where all of my orchestrations are scheduled within. And if I refresh this, the last one here should show the orchestration that we just ran. So that summarized GitHub issues. It took a duration of 31 seconds, and it completed successfully. I have some other ones here from my testing that and other apps that have failed, and so you can see what that looks like for a failed orchestration. But if we drill into the specific instance, you can actually see the sequence that all the orchestration, what it's comprised of. And so you can see I query the repos. I know exactly how long that request to GitHub took, asking for Kata core organization. Here's the response back from the GitHub API. Here's when I then asked it to convert some time for me. So here's the time conversion, past week. That's what I asked. So it returned an ISO formatted time date for the past week. And then I fan out to call all of the issues in parallel, and then I fan back in asking Azure OpenAI to summarize these issues and to rank them with fixes. Cool. So this is just an example of how you can bring the durable task scheduler into AI-driven scenarios, and how you can extend the integration that we have today with Azure Functions, with the AI agent service to support durable app patterns. Thanks for watching.